Hi, in this lab we're going to configure SSH. SSH is another remote management protocol than Telnet. SSH is better than Telnet because uh, it has encrypted the password and the username and the password and the information it's encrypted. Uh, SSH runs over port 22, and let's start the configuration. Here is packet tracer. Here we have 3 devices, a router and 2 switches. They are already configured, the interfaces. The interfaces are already configured. And if you want, you can download this lab and you can try it by your own. I will leave in the description of the video the link to download the lab so you can have all the interfaces configured. Here we already have the router interfaces configured and the VLAN interface is configured on switches. So we only will be configuring SSH. So let's start. We're gonna start with router 1. Enable. Password is Cisco. And well, there are 3 important things that you have to configure in SSH. Domain name, cisco.com. This domain, it could be wherever you want. Cisco.com, wherever.com, switch.com, router.com, google.com. And it doesn't matter if it's working on the internet or if it's not working. Then you have to configure a username and a secret. This could be an enabled password, but it's better using a secret because secret encrypts the password. But if in the Ccna test they ask you to configure an enabled a password, just put password, not secret. But we're gonna use secret because it's better. And okay, let's start. Conft username, it's admin, and secret Ccna. An IP domain name cisco.com. Now we're gonna configure the key. The command is crypto key generate RSI. The default value for the key is 512, and as we want to configure SSH version 2, we have to put the value 1024. SSH version 2 it's better than SSH version 1. So as we're gonna run SSH version 2, you have the best value for that, it's 1024, and IP SSH version 2. Okay, now let's configure the lines. Line V2Y 0 through 4. Transport input SSH. This command transport input SSH is telling the switch that the only remote management protocol it will be SSH. So if you're using Telnet and switch and you put this command transport input SSH, you won't be able to Telnet more in the switch. The only protocol for remote managing the switch, it will be SSH. And we're gonna put login local. What means login local? Login local is telling the switch that it will use the local database in the switch for the login. So if you put login local, it means that if you want to make an SSH session, you have to put the username and the password that you have configured. So here is username admin, secret, that is the password CCNA. Login local is telling that you have to use admin and password CCNA for a remote session in SSH. And so that's all for the router. Let's verify, show run. Here we have username admin, secret CCNA. That's right. IP SSH version 2, IP domain name cisco.com, lines, login local, transport input SSH. Okay, we're done with router 1. Let's go to switch 1. Switch 1, we basically will be doing the same. Enable, Cisco, conft username, admin, secret Ccna, IP domain name cisco.com, key crypto. We're gonna generate the key, crypto key, generate RSA. As I told you, it's 1024 is the best value for IP SSH version 2. It's more secure than version 1. That is the one that comes with default. Now we're gonna configure the lines, NVTY, the remote lines, 0 through 4. You can use 0 through 15, but we will be using 0 through 4. And in line is transport input SSH. We're telling the switch that the only protocol for remote managing it will be SSH, and login local. We will use the local database for the username and password. And let's verify what we have configured. Okay, here we have username admin, secret it must be CCNA. These values were already configured. We're only configuring SSH. Well, here's login local, transport input SSH. Okay, it's all right. Now let's try. We're gonna try to SSH router 1. So let's SSH L. You have to put this L for SSH, the username admin, and the IP address. We're gonna use the IP address of this interface in the router. It's 192.168.0.254. Okay, password it's CCNA. Okay, now we are in router 1. Enable, password Cisco, and show run. Now we are in router 1. We're gonna make an SSH to switch 1. SSH L admin. I forgot to put the IP address. SSH L admin 192.168.0.1. That's the IP address of the VLAN 1 interface on the switch. Password CCNA. Enable password Cisco. Okay, that's good. Now let's configure switch 2. We have to do basically the same. Enable Cisco, conft username admin secret Cisco. No, sorry, CCNA. IP domain name it's cisco.com, and let's configure the key, crypto key, generate RSA 1024 IP SSH version 2. If you have an older device in the real world, it won't accept IP SSH version 2 unless you update the software, upgrade the EOS of the switch. But when you have new versions of the switches, like switches catalysts, X versions, they all accept version 2. Now let's configure the lines, line VTY 0 through 4. Transport input SSH. We're telling that only SSH for remote management, and login local. We want to take the local database. The local database. We know what's the local database. Again, show run. This is the local database. That's why when we make a SSH session, we have to put this username and this password. It's CCNA, but it's encrypted. Okay. Now let's try to SSH switch to. Well, maybe we can put a PC and connect to the switch. We're gonna put an IP address to the PC. And we have to put an IP address that it has to be in the same subnet. That is this switch that we're connecting. This switch is in the subnet 192.168.0. This switch is in the subnet 0. So we're gonna put 010. 010, okay. As we're gonna make an SSH to switch to, we have to put the IP default gateway of the interface of the router, because the router is the one that will be making the switching between subnets, because this switch is in subnet 1 and this PC is in subnet 0. That's the reason when you wanted to go to the internet, you have to put the default gateway, the IP address of the router, because the router will change the subnet, will make a switch to the subnet, and it will go to the internet. Now here the router, we're gonna make an SSH to switch to, so the router will switch to go to the subnet 1, because this switch is in subnet 1. You always will need a router to switch between subnets. So here we're going to put the IP address that is in 192.168.0.10. A subnet mask is 40 bits, 24 bits, I'm sorry. Default gateway 192.168.0.10, 0254. Okay, that I will show you here. If you make show IP interface brief, we have here two IP addresses. Gigabit 00, it's 192.168.0.254. It's this interface. And the other interface, it's 192.168.1.254. And the switch, show IP interface brief, we have VLAN 1, 192.168.0.1. So we have this in one subnet and this in another subnet. And if you want a SSH switch to, we have to put in the default gateway the IP address of the interface of the router, because this router will switch to the other subnet. So let's try here. We're gonna ping 192.168.0. We're gonna ping the switch first. Okay, it's replying. Now we're gonna ping switch 2, 192.168 1.1, ping 1. And we are here, we success in the ping. Now look, what happens if I change the IP default gateway? Here I will change. I will put 3. I will be able to ping the switch, ping 192.168.0.1, but I won't be able to ping the other subnet, ping 192.168.1.1. Request timeout. Request timeout. request timeout. Okay, that's the reason we need to put the IP address of the interface on the router as a default gateway. It's 0, this interface. Okay, again, we're gonna try. Or now we're gonna ping. Now we succeed. Now we're gonna make an SSH session. SSH all admin 192.168.1.2.11. We're gonna password it's Ccna. Now we're in switch 2. Cisco show run. Okay, that's right. We have succeed in our laboratory, in our configurations. In the real world, if you want to access by SSH or telnet to a Cisco device, you have to use PuTTY. Here is PuTTY. You can download for putty.com. Here you have the options if you want to access SSH, telnet, or serial if it's a console session. Here you only have to put the IP address of the device, but I don't have any switch connected right now to my computer, so it won't work. But if you want to make SSH to a real device, but you have to use PuTTY. It's the best way and free. Well, that's all for this lab. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.